All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw Intuition Health Show. It is so great to be with you again on this Sunday. We had a little couple weeks there that we were missing, so thank you for your patience and getting the show back on track. But super excited for this episode and for our amazing guests that we're going to have with us today. We have Kate Galli with us. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I should
You
have
are.
asked. I am. Okay, perfect. Kate Galli is with us. Super inspiring, super, just educational content and inspirational content to help you on your vegan journey and really make the best of this lifestyle. So I have a little bio here of Kate. She is a vegan health coach, author, and podcast host. Kate is also she is qualified as a master personal trainer, life coach, and NLP practitioner, and has completed the eCornell plant-based nutrition certificate program. It's a great program. She first got into fitness as a way to transform her body and confidence, and she has spent 18 years helping thousands of people sculpt a body and a life that they love. And over the past 8 years, she has focused on vegan health coaching as one of the most powerful ways to advocate for animals and for being fit and strong and healthy. And her vision is to create a strong, fit, happy, healthy, compassionate vegan world. I think that's amazing. And on an actionable level, Kate's intention is to help you create the mindset, which is so important, that makes your best eating and exercise choices simple and sustainable. So a lot of similarities between me and Kate there. We have a very similar mission, and I really appreciate everything she's doing. So let's get Kate in here. Kate, thank you so much for being on the show.
Matt, it's my huge pleasure. I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, as you guys probably know, today's episode is titled, Are You an Angry Vegan? Right? Are you an angry vegan? Because it's not always easy to be a vegan in today's world, maybe easier than it used to be, but still, it is difficult for a lot of people, both socially, just finding ways to make the diet work, and it leads to a lot of frustration, and it leads to maybe some anger. And so we're going to talk about that today. Kate is an expert on this topic, and she's very passionate about it. And so I'm excited to learn from Kate and talk about how, maybe why or why not it's beneficial to be an angry vegan, and maybe some alternate approaches that we can take in our vegan advocacy and just creating the health and the life that and the world that we would all like. So good to see everybody in the comments section as well. Thanks everybody for joining us. We got Maria, Carl, Mallory, Tessa, JJ. We got the whole gang here. So it's so great to see everybody. Really excited to have this chat, and of course, as always, that we do with every show. At the end, stick around for the Q&A, and please hold your questions till the end. Or if you do put it in early, put like 3 or 4 question marks before your comment or your question, so that it's easy to go back and find. But we're gonna do a giveaway as we always do. So I've got my ebooks. You can get any one of my ebooks if you are chosen as the winner of the drawing. And then I also have a free bottle of Daily Green Boost that Daily Green Boost has generously offered for me to give away to you guys. So you'll get a free code to get a free bottle of Daily Green Boost within the next 2 weeks. You have to use the code. And then Kate has been generous enough to offer a gift herself. So Kate, do you want to share what you'll be giving away?
Oh, of course, it's a venture of the heart. It's the Plant Positive Journal, which is the book I wrote a couple of years ago, the e-version of it. And this journal, it's a big, beautiful beast. It's 508 pages. It's a daily planner. It's full of recipes and artwork, and it's my little vegan Trojan horse, which also is going out into the world and helping you adopt a healthy plant-based lifestyle one step at a time. So focusing on not just the delicious food and fitness, also all those mindset steps that are going to make that lifestyle sustainable.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you offering that. I'm excited for somebody to win that. And so, yeah, guys, stick around for the end and be sure to ask your questions. All right. Well, Kate, if you wouldn't mind, I like to start off each show with just kind of letting the guest kind of introduce themselves and how, kind of their backstory. How did you get into, coaching and, fitness and how did you become vegan? What all kind of led up to that?
Sure. So I became vegetarian when I was 16. Prior to that, I was that animal loving little girl who still ate animals until I learnt that. Sorry, it took me so many years to learn, but I learnt that animals need to die for me to eat them. And I became what I called an ethical vegetarian, basically overnight. And sadly, it would take a further 23 years before I would actually watch the documentary Cowspiracy, and I would learn that animals were still dying for my food choices. By that time, that many years ago, 8.5 years ago now, I'd been a personal trainer for a decade. I was fit, strong, pretty happy with the way my body looked and functioned. However, I was following a really high protein, low carbohydrate vegetarian diet. I was eating up to 21 organic free range egg whites a day and didn't think
Wow.
those chickens were suffering. Um, you know, really incongruent, and Matt will touch on this further, obviously. However, this is where the angry part started to come in for me, because I had been an ethical vegetarian for 23 years before I became vegan, and I learned that it was incongruent. Animals were still dying. So I made the swap to vegan pretty much overnight. As I said, that was 8.5 years ago now. I was in a fairly gym bro type of a scene where I worked. And I remember I had already been the kind of freaky vegetarian trainer. It was a bit weird that I didn't eat the steak and eggs that everyone else ate all the time. And then I came into the gym and I announced that I was vegan. And I remember one of the other personal trainers who's really into his science. It's funny, like science will tell you whatever rabbit hole you go down, you can
Right.
find the evidence to back up your belief. But he said, well, goodbye lean muscle mass then. And thankfully he was wrong. I had some hesitations, but yeah, super fast track, I guess. It, as everyone who's listening will understand, the food component, the fitness component was so much easier than I could have ever anticipated. It's the other components that can be challenging, and I know we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you followed your intuition and stayed on the path and received all the benefits. So, and you're coming from Sydney, Australia, is that correct?
Do you know I actually moved. I'd
Oh,
lived in Sydney for 25 years, and Sydney's a beautiful city. At the end of last year, I decided to escape the rat race, I guess, to use a not so vegan term, the hustle bustle, always on manicness of
mm,
the city. As I've gotten a little bit older, I've decided to move somewhere to Noosa, which is in Queensland. It's on what we call the Sunshine Coast here in Australia. So just another state, but a much smaller area, a much more chill lifestyle. Not as many amazing vegan restaurants as what Sydney got, but it's definitely my mission to help support the ones that are here.
amazing. Cool. Well, Australia sounds beautiful. I've never been there, but one day, hopefully, I'll get to visit and I'll let you know if I do.
Absolutely. That sounds good. It's a fantastic place to visit.
I bet. I bet. All right. Cool. Well, we can get right into the topic discussion. So, are you an angry vegan is the topic, and what would you say in terms of like uh I guess what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about angry veganism? I know you mentioned you have a history with being an angry vegan, and so Is that, in your experience, the way to go? Is that an effective way to spread the message, or what would be your first kind of talking point or tip on that?
Yeah, I'd love to lay a little bit of groundwork here, I guess. The angry vegan groundwork, my background. As I said, I'd been vegetarian for a long time before I became vegan. And I felt really angry that I'd been lied to, that we've all been lied to. And also want to say up front, my angry vegan friends, my animal rights activist friends who are more extreme in their approaches, I love and respect you. And I don't think there's any wrong way to do advocacy. I just think there are ways that we make it harder on ourselves, and also there are ways that are less effective. And for me personally, I want to be as effective as possible. And, I'm working towards a healthy, happy vegan world. If we want everyone on the same page, it's going to take a lot of work. And as I learned the hard way, it's going to take leading with love, compassion, and deliciousness. And so to backtrack, Matt, I'd been vegan probably a couple of years, 6 years ago. Let's say 6 years ago, I'd been vegan a couple of years. I'd been getting active. I'd been going to the weekly demonstrations for Anonymous for the Voiceless, and then other marches. And I had a lot of new vegan animal rights activist friends, and that was my heart. That was really important to me. And also, I was coming home at Christmas time to spend time with my incredibly non-vegan family. And my dear mum rang me up before that Christmas 6 years ago. And she said, Katie, I'm really worried about what to do with food at Christmas time. You're this animal rights activist. Your father's the anti-vegan. It's all about the food. I don't know what to do unless you want to mastermind a vegan feast and sell the family on it. And I was like, amazing. I am all over that vegan feast. Perhaps maybe you could sell the family on it. And so that was the starting point. I cooked 8 new recipes, I think, that Christmas, and they were all amazing, not because of me, just because I followed some great chefs online. And the Christmas went really well. Mum really appreciated all the effort that I went to. And finally, after that Christmas, before I went back to Sydney, she said, Katie, will you watch What the Health with me? And backstory on that documentary, I'd been emotionally blackmailing my parents to try and get them to watch that ever since I became vegan. And everyone listening, you're probably very aware how effective emotional blackmail is. It just doesn't work. They hadn't been interested. So mum and I sat down, we watched What the Health. She said, let me try this plant-based thing for a couple of weeks. And years went by, and mum was plant-based and gradually becoming more and more vegan, listening to all my podcasts, all of this. There's a really heavy point to all of this and how it relates to that angry vegan, because 2.5 years ago now, after mum and I had been the closest we've ever been, she was the only person following this now vegan lifestyle in my family. 2.5 years ago, I got the phone call from dad that I always thought I'd be getting from mum, because mum was always the healthy, vibrant, warm, loving, full of life person following a healthy plant based lifestyle. And dad was not that. And he called me, and mum had died suddenly. She was on life support in hospital. And I know that's really heavy to share. And it's really the heaviest experience to go through, as anyone listening will know. And that was during COVID times. Mum was in another state. I had to get compassionate discompensation to even get into her state, let alone get into the hospital to say goodbye, even though she was gone. And that was the point in time where I was so sad that it was almost like I didn't have enough room for all that anger that I'd been carrying around 24/7 at all the non-vegans in my life. And I know people are listening to this and relating to the fact that, a vegan world, stopping animal suffering, it is so incredibly important and urgent. and we can't unsee what we've seen. And carrying around that anger and hate and frustration is just so exhausting and draining. And when on top of that, you're dealing with the biggest grief of your life, I just didn't have the energy for the anger anymore. I had to take a conscious step back from the anger. And also, Matt, I realized that mum going, zero regrets in our relationship. We had an amazing relationship. If it had been dad, it would have been a different story because our relationship was incredibly fraught. And the vast majority, we disagree on many huge issues, but the largest of that is animal exploitation and my vegan lifestyle. And so I made a conscious decision, and this is why I share it so freely, that I am no longer an angry vegan, because it's a conscious decision that I work on every single day. It doesn't come naturally. Angry animal rights activist Kate comes naturally. However, I had to decide to focus on what I have in common with the people I love who aren't vegan, and just get better at sadly filtering out so many of those things that we don't have in common. I know that's been a long time of me chatting, so I'll let you interrupt.
Yeah, wow. Well, so sorry about your mother. And you know, it is it's interesting. I think, people could take that type of an event two different ways, right? I think, like you took it, you didn't have room to have hold that anger anymore. I feel like some people might take that and intensify the anger and, be more angry at the world and, that sort of a thing. So, um, I guess, do you have any advice for others that are dealing with the struggles of being vegan in this world, and going through other difficult times in their life? Was there anything that specifically helped you, or anything that comes to
I,
mind?
I do indeed, absolutely. And I will say it took me a full year, I guess, of coming to this realization. I was probably in total just gutted shock for the first entire year and only just surviving. But I kind of have an ABC, which sounds so light and fickle for the heaviest subject in the world. But the A in my approach is an awareness. I was very aware of what my anger and frustration was and had been costing me in my lifestyle. And that is what I recommend to people listening who can relate. Like, picture your life 3 months' time, 12 months' time, 3 years' time. If the way that you are feeling, and particularly the relationships with your loved ones, if they are still the way they are right now, when you are so angry at that unnecessary cruelty that they are inflicting consciously, look, everyone is consciously now. None of us are ignorant anymore. We know what our actions are causing for the animals, the planet, hopefully our own health as well. We're aware of that. So walk it out in time and think of those people. How important are those relationships to you? And I know some people will draw a hard line and go, maybe, the animals are more important, I'm cutting those people out of my life. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to cut those people out of their life. And also, as a personal trainer and health coach, I have an awareness I've seen with my clients over decades now, that spending time with these people who aren't yet vegan, and them seeing how fit and strong and healthy we are and can be, and them sitting down to a meal with us and seeing how delicious and abundant and joyful our food is, that's a really, really effective way to advocate. Whereas if I was just isolating myself, surrounding myself only with vegans, that would be easier for me. And it's more joyful. I love it. I wish all my friends were vegans, but it's not as effective in changing the world. And I want to change the world. The B in that ABC is to brainstorm the things that you can start doing and brainstorm the things that you can stop doing. So I stopped going to those weekly animal rights protests. They drew the line in the sand for me, as to, it just made it harder for me to lead with compassion when I was seeing what other people are doing to animals. I stopped sharing the horrific videos online because if you share it, you have to see it. And I've already seen it, and the videos should be there. And I wish I'd seen them as a 16-year-old. I wish I'd seen them as a 7-year-old, but I stopped sharing them. I stopped having those conversations with people that they're just in it for the debate. They
Hmm.
don't care. It's a bit of a game to them, and going in that it's just a bit of fun for them. And for you, it's life and death. And so I stopped having those conversations. And I started sharing delicious food and recipes. I started focusing on what I have in common with the people I love who aren't vegan. I started prioritizing my own self-care even more. They were the start things. And the C in my little ABC is a commitment to make this change. And I guess by that, it's a commitment with yourself. You've recognized this is what you're going to do because it's most fun for you and it's most effective for the animals long term. And also, you announce it to other people because, Matt, you can bet when natural little angry Kate starts to show through, if I've been sharing with anyone that I'm no longer an angry vegan, they are going to call me on it. So that commitment and that sharing with people, that's a really effective part of the strategy as well.
Oh, yeah, that's terrific. I love that. Um, and yeah, so helpful to really lay it out in that kind of a context. And having, like you said, the commitment and the accountability to others, and making sure that you are sharing the message in the most um, you know effective way, I think is so key.
That's it. I always bring myself back to effective. And as I said, it doesn't come naturally to me. It actually costs me often to kind of, before you have that conversation that, I mean, I nearly got into that conversation with my father yesterday.
Mm.
The one that it's not going to end well. We know that in advance. And what I had found happened with me is having those conversations, and this is hard to say, but it's true. Having those conversations made me like these people, respect these people less, dare I even say love these people less. And again, I had that conversation with myself where I'm like, do I want to love these people less? No, I've already lost the most important person in my life, the one that was aligned with my values and ethics. And I can't fracture the other important relationships just because they're not there yet.
Yeah, that's a great point. Um, Judith says those animal videos are so sad, and yeah, it's true. And like you, Kate, I also don't share them nearly as much as I used to. I do
Mm.
still kind of intermittently, spread them out, but for the most part, I'm right in line with your approach in trying to make the lifestyle as attractive and fun and delicious as possible to bring in more people, because I'm similar in some ways in terms of my I also used to be much more of an angry vegan, and I remember being at family holiday get-togethers and pointing out the turkey on the table, suffered, and also the inflammatory and carcinogenic properties of them, and you know, well, it's good to educate people. I think there's a time and a place to do it, and not recognizing or not being aware, like you said, having the awareness of, the right time to present that type of information. I think it can have the opposite effect of what we think it's going to when we just kind of, you know, burst it on somebody in like a family dinner situation, right? So having the awareness of, the way that you're communicating it, and also the context of the situation, and how that's going to be received in that situation.
Well, absolutely. And also, sadly, the people you love most are often the least receptive to hearing your advice.
Yeah.
If they feel attacked, they put their defenses up. Obviously, anyone does that. However, I've spoken to so many powerful, effective animal rights activists who are not powerful and effective with the people they love most,
Mm.
particularly their parents. Like, yes, a lot of us, our actions rub off on other people around us, but very often the people that we most want those actions to rub off on, they have just got their head firmly stuck in the sand, and yanking it out, sadly, or shaking them isn't the way to get them to open their mind and open their heart. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they do say, you can't be a prophet in your own home. Our,
Yes,
our family
true.
members are, the relationships we have with our family members can, for whatever reason, I don't even know the exact reason, but, they just don't take, you could say the exact same thing. You could say one
Hmm.
thing to your family member, and then they just completely disregard it, and then they hear it from somebody else, or they watch a video saying the exact same thing that you said, and then they start to listen to it. So
Yep.
there's some sort of weird, thing going on there where it prevents the communication from being received when it's a family member a lot of times.
100%. I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, the first thing, I'll just kind of quick throw one of mine in here. A reason why, in my experience, it's much more effective and just sustainable to get away from the angry vegan approach and mentality. And this goes back to just our last episode we had with Dr. Will Tuttle, and he mentioned that we are in in essence building our bodies with the emotions and the feelings that we give energy to, and what we take in as well as what we produce internally is going to be a big part of what manifests our physical experience as well as our external perceptions and all that stuff. But um you got to remember that when you are constantly angry or, just frustrated and you're having those types of emotions, you're producing cortisol and adrenaline. And when you do this on a consistent basis, it's very pro inflammatory. And so having a state, excuse me, of constant adrenaline and cortisol running through the body, it's going to lead to both a lower level of physical health long term, as well as it's very psychologically draining, as Kate mentioned earlier. It just drains you, and it's not a sustainable way to live, really. And so we have to, even though it is so frustrating, I know the feeling, feeling helpless, that exactly, or you have a pretty good idea of what that animal went through, to end up on somebody's plate, and they're completely disregarding the fact that the animal's life mattered, or they might poke jokes at it. And it's not that we should be suppressing our anger or suppressing the emotions that we feel, because obviously it is important to process those emotions and understand the best way to process that, and allow it to leave the body in a healthy way. But when you are constantly just angry at people and producing those hormones and chemicals in your body that are going to over time degrade your health, it's a good idea to find more sustainable ways to both person, like look at life, look at the situation of trying to help animals and also help people, improve their health, because it is, there is a very strong link there between, the health of our bodies and how our mind works and how compassionate we can be. And so the healthier we get, it opens up the mind to be more compassionate. And so helping somebody get healthy is in fact helping the animals too, because you are giving that person a chance to get out of that fight or flight mode and start to see things from a different perspective. And it gives them that chance to, have that more compassionate approach. So yeah, that would be my first thing, is just having that awareness, like Kate said, of the chemicals you're producing and the impact that long-term cortisol and adrenaline production can have on both your mind and your body.
Mm. Absolutely. I love Dr. Will Tuttle. Oh my God, his energy is so beautiful. Whenever
Yeah.
I think, who do I most want to spend time with right now? That's when I invite him on the podcast. And as you said, Matt, sustainability, that's the thing. I mean, sadly, it's not a vegan world tomorrow. We need to be fit, strong, and healthy to be in it for the animals and the environment and human health long term. And yeah, if the way that you're feeling right now is not sustainable long term, then as you said, it's time to find a different approach and time to prioritize some of the other things in your life that, help you feel happy and healthy and lead by example for the non vegans in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And I think that's why we see, there are, some well-known activists that were effective, and they no longer are really advocating or putting out in anything because they really burnt themselves out with their approach. And so I think it's just another reminder that the the way that we approach it can um, really impact how sustainable it is for us, and doing it in a way that doesn't burn us out, that doesn't constantly flood ourselves with stress hormones, can help us be more effective into the future, as we are doing today. So yeah.
Absolutely. I've seen it firsthand. I've interviewed hundreds of people for my podcast now, and I would worry for the mental health of some of the more extreme activists who, again, I shouldn't need to say it, but I want to say I love and respect them, and it was an honor to speak to them. But I'd be speaking to them and thinking, I worry for you. How long can you keep going like that? And just for their own longevity and sustainability. But I was pufferfished is a word we say here in Australia. Triggered is more of an overused, but you said the people who can't stay in it long term, and I was like, it made me think of what still makes me an angry vegan, and that's the people that were vegan and they no longer are vegan and they've gone out making a lot of noise like that.
Yeah.
I have to work hard to not be angry at that. If you're vegan for the animals and now you're not, and now you're very loudly proclaiming to the world why you feel so much better eating animal products again, whew, that's a work on to not be angered and frustrated by, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Huh.
That's been same with me. It's been a point of strong frustration to see that happen. And yeah, it's hard to even understand the mindset that could go into that. When you know what goes into the animal products, whether it's meat or their secretions, the whole process that goes into it, and then to turn on a dime and start promoting the exact opposite of what you had been doing before. Um, it it makes me wonder. They say, I don't. It's just so hard, because sometimes I think they're they were just doing it for, to build a brand or to,
Mm-hmm.
gain an audience to then, move to something else without ever really uh, connecting with what they were actually saying, but at the same time, they've seen, they made it very clear that they were at least aware of what was happening. And so it, for me, I guess it comes down to um understanding. So these people must think that all of a sudden they were wrong, and that you do need animal products to be healthy. um Otherwise, if they don't think, they must have some like deep, now new feeling that animal products must be healthy. But there's plenty of evidence that we have, and I think it's pretty much irrefutable that you can live a very long, healthy life without ever consuming animal products. Or at least, I know of, I could count, many people that were at least vegan for more than half their life, and they lived high 90s or into their hundreds. And so, it's like there's plenty of evidence out there. And then for these people to then start saying that you must have eggs or fish or whatever it is, it's just so bizarre to me, and it just makes me question their actual motive.
Oh, for sure. Their motive is the dollar, the vast majority of the time. Their motive is the clicks and the dollar. And this is where the non-compassionate Kate shines through,
Hmm.
because once you know, you can't unknow. And I will say, I'm all about the effective. However, I do have much gratitude for the activists out there that put out those ex-vegan videos, and they slam the ex-vegans, and that probably isn't the most effective form of activism. It probably annoys the vast majority of non-vegans out there. However, I watch those videos, and they are good for my mental health, because some other activist has had the courage to go through, trawl through some ex-vegans videos and put together a YouTube hit piece on them. And for me, I find it very good to actually just watch that. I'll shout out someone like Hench Herbivore, who does those amazing videos over in the UK.
Yeah.
Mad respect. Thank you for doing the work that I don't have the fortitude or courage to do.
Yeah, I agree. I also enjoy watching those, because I think it shows, like, when you can pick apart somebody's, you know, illogical reasoning.
Mhm.
It not only points out their hypocrisy and their illogical thought processes, but it also shows other people how, to look at the situation, because a lot of
Yeah.
times these people will try to come up with a reason. At least this is my perception of it. They try to come up with, they want you to feel sympathetic towards them. They want you to think that like they're somehow different and they absolutely need this. But and then we have people like Hench Herbivore and others that, do what is it called, a
A
response.
roast, like a
Yeah.
takedown, a response.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And it shows people both the hypocrisy, but also a different way of looking at that situation and how this person could have handled it differently.
Hmm.
And really the science and the evidence behind why what they're saying isn't actually true.
Yep.
So, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Love it. Um, anything else you want to cover on that front?
I guess I want to say I wouldn't have come to the point I am now, from angry vegan to trying my very hardest to lead with love, compassion, and deliciousness. I don't think I could have been forced there in the same way that I needed to get there because of horrific circumstances that happened. I probably couldn't have moved there faster in the same way that, those non vegans in your life, you're probably not going to force them towards a more compassionate lifestyle. I got there in my own time frame, and I think that's what each of us need to do. I guess, implore you, if you're feeling that anger and the frustration and the sadness. There's so much sadness in being aware 24/7 of what we are doing to the animals and the planet. If you're not happy with the way that you're feeling every single day in your relationships with loved ones, then again, that awareness, that brainstorm, what you can stop and start doing, and that commitment to make it happen in your own time, I hugely recommend it.
Yeah. Um, what were one of the first things that you noticed for yourself of when you were brainstorming things that you could stop or start doing? Were there any like key things that you kind of started off with?
It was social media was massive. That
Mm,
was huge. And this relates to any type of social media content. However, you want to ask yourself how you feel after you've done that, after you've spent that time online. How are you feeling? Better or worse? Angry and exhausted? That was huge. And it was those conversations that I had previously, and I respect the people that can still do this. I had previously felt a pressure to always be advocating. I would
mm,
always be flying my little vegan flag. I'd be wearing my singlet to the gym, which was killing workouts, not animals. I'd still wear that, but I would jump in a conversation when the opportunity arose, and just the exhaustion of that. And as I said, the fact that it diminishes relationships with people you love or with clients who are paying you money. And then you know, th- pick your battles, pick the low hanging fruits, because you're going to get the opportunity to have these open hearted, open minded, compassionate conversations with hundreds of people, right? The energy that would take, as opposed to these really fraught, tense, anger filled, horrific conversations with just a handful of people, which are just unfun and ineffective. So, yeah, I'd say the conversations in the social media were two big ones for me.
yeah, I totally relate to that. It is so true. Yeah, just I also felt that same need to always I would always wear my, vegan hoodie, and, just anytime I could kind of slip in some advocacy, I would always try to do that. And yeah, at the expense a lot of times of relationships and just causing tension in every situation. So
Mm.
and it's so tough. It is really tough because you think about all the suffering that is happening, at every moment. Like right now, there's millions of animals that are, or billions of animals that are being, put through, um, some very horrendous circumstances. And like for me, I feel like I do still struggle with this a little bit where I know that I can't always be pushing, the animal compassion and animal, thinking of, trying to get people to think about that because it's tough because I want to do it because then I feel like if I'm not sharing that, then I like how would I, if I was looking that animal in the face and I didn't like stand up for it, how, how would I that make me feel? But at the same time, as we've already covered, like it's just it's not sustainable for me to continually do that. And so if I want to help, even though I can't help every single animal, if I want to help the most animals that I can, then doing it again, as we've said, in a sustainable way and just picking your battles, like you said, and um, yeah, just and also coming up with creative ways to share the message so that you can still share it, but it's not in a way that is you know causes tension or um, you know breaks relationships and things like that.
Absolutely. And again, it's looking at the form of activism that gives you energy rather than costs you energy. Podcasting, writing the Plant Positive Journal, these forms of activism, yeah, they're not out there on the street, but they give me energy and joy and passion rather than drain me of all of those things. So for our listeners, what are the things that give you energy that you come out of thinking, wow, amazing. And there are seasons. I used to come out of those Anonymous for the Voiceless and such activism events on the biggest high because of the activists I got to spend time with
Mm.
and because of the amazing people on the street that I had conversations with who were open minded and open hearted. I felt I was making a difference, and I was for that season of my life. As I've said many times, I'm so grateful there are people out there doing that and getting that undercover footage and all of that. However, I guess it takes a self awareness of, is this still working for me? Is it still, what is it costing me? Is it costing me too much? And am I hanging to it because of ego, which Robert Cheek spoke a lot about in his recent book, Impactful Vegan? Am I just doing it? Am I making it more about me? I don't think most people are. I think the vast majority of vegans, we're in it for their animals. It's the least selfish thing that you can do. And potentially sometimes we maybe need to be just a tiny bit more selfish in the way that we prioritize our own self care and the way that we take time out and that we make time for things that aren't advocating for the animals, and we just do other things and have a fuller, happier life that is more enjoyable for us. And also from the outside looking into the vast majority of people who are non-vegan, they look at those vegans having a healthy, happy life, and it's more compelling. It makes them want to join the movement rather than looking at us as some exclusive unfun club that they just don't want to be part of.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, so true. And especially people, because I know there are advocates out there that do pressure. I don't know if that's the right word, but they encourage people to, they say that eating vegan or just being vegan is the baseline, but
Hmm.
really you should be out there advocating for these animals. And I think, while I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, I think that can put pressure on people that aren't maybe comfortable at that point, anyways,
Hmm.
of going out and joining a you know voice. I can't think of the word now. Any of these
Oh,
groups.
Anonymous for the
Anonymous
Voiceless.
for the voice.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Or a cube, where they're out, doing that sort of stuff. And maybe they feel like, oh well, if I go vegan, maybe I have to start, wearing vegan clothes, like write vegan on my shirt, or just share, tell people that they should be vegan. So yeah, I think that knowing that you can make a difference even if you're not doing that, even though I do agree that it's great to be out there and sharing the message and trying to be an advocate, but just for like people getting into it, I think just encouraging them to have fun with it, have fun with it, um make it delicious like you said, and just it should be about being happy, right? It shouldn't be just about yelling at people. It shouldn't be about stressful situations and broken relationships and things. It should be about creating more love, creating more compassion, creating more joy in your life, um, at the same time that you are spreading the message. So, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. And I'm a huge fan of modeling success. You look at the person leading the life that you want to be leading. And so I look at the activists out there or the entrepreneurs, the authors, the athletes. Who are they? I look at those people that are leading the lifestyle that I would love to be leading. And I look at the way that they do it. And I imagine what their lifestyle looks like. And one type of lifestyle is a whole lot more attractive than the other type of lifestyle. And again, maybe there's a little bit of selfishness in that. However, it's a selfishness that will keep me going long term
Yeah.
until we do reach this vegan world that I am so desperately striving for.
Yeah. And I like the concept of, as below, so above, as within, so without. I think if you find yourself, just speaking in general, if a person finds himself always angry, always frustrated, yelling at people, trying to just like shock people into the truth, if that's, you know, the way that you currently are experiencing life, right? If and if you think that's being effective, then do what you think is effective. But if you feel like maybe it is draining you, you got to look at, why are you feeling the need to express this message in an angry way? Because a lot of times, as the saying is, as within, so without. If you, a lot of times, I think it's people that feel like they don't have control in their life. They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard by others, or they just don't. They don't know how to express what they're feeling, and so it comes out as anger. It comes out as frustration and things like this. And so I think finding ways to introspect and go within and kind of, you know, self-analyze and look at the ways, maybe that you could fine tune your inner world and find, how do you truly want to express yourself, and why aren't you expressing yourself in that way? I think is a good thing to consider. And you can do that through journaling, you can do that through meditation, you can do that through, just being in nature and, being in silence. But that's one thing I would also point out is that putting out an aggressive, very stressful message, and if that's not feeling like it's genuine experience, like maybe you don't like doing it that way, but that's the only way it comes out, right? So then I would encourage people to go within, find out why you're not able to express the message in the best way that you feel is best, and that could maybe help get rid of some of that constant stress and constant anger.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, that takes the ability to take some time out to still and prioritize some time for yourself for that reflection, be it journaling or whatever it may be, because we can get caught up in the hustle and bustle. And as I said with Sydney, the hamster wheel and always on. And this is what I've always done. So this is what I'll always do. And this is where I squeeze in activism. And we got to take some time out and take a breath. And yeah, great point.
Thank you. Um, all right. Wow. We're already almost at the top of the hour. That went by so fast. I can't believe it's
I
already
did
almost.
indeed.
Yeah. Um, okay. And I actually I don't have it in front of me, but as we've been speaking, I just thought, today would be a great episode for me to give away a copy of. I published a children's book, a vegan book. Here, I'm gonna grab it. Just
Amazing.
1 second.
Yeah, grab it.
All right. So yeah, vegan adventures with barnyard friends. I will
Awesome.
I will give away a copy of this. U.S. people only. I apologize, but U.S. Contestants only. So yeah, I will send a copy of Vegan Adventures with Barnyard Friends, and the reason I created this book back in 2017 is because, like Kate, I also, once I found out this information, because the thing, I was plant-based technically, for like the first 6 months of me getting onto this lifestyle. And then I saw the movie Earthlings, and that just completely made me angry. It made me, I felt betrayed. I just felt so frustrated and sad that I didn't know this information. Like you said, you wish you would have, seen the documentaries when you were 7. I wish I would have seen that as well when I was 7 or as a young child. Um, because I went all those years, thinking that, I thought many things. I thought that I needed animal protein in order to be healthy and calcium from milk, but I also thought that animals, farm animals specifically, were like just some sort of separate type of
Mm,
creature that was,
yeah.
didn't have the same basic emotions and, experiences that we have. So that was a reason that I just never really saw a problem with, causing them to go through what they go through in order for me to consume their bodies and their byproducts. And so that that was what made me want to just make a non-graphic children's book that was, just inviting for families to read. And so it just kind of takes you through the lives of the different animals that are used for food and clothing. And so, yeah, I will send a free copy of that for somebody, and hopefully they have either they have a child or they know a child that would be interested in that sort of a thing. So yeah.
I love that. As Earthling Ed says, what would society be like if we taught children from the moment that they were born that all species were equal?
Yeah.
Like, you can't even imagine a society where people would be racist and sexist and like, if we respected the ant through to the antelope, we're not going to be discriminating against other humans. Like, it just,
Yeah.
that is the world that I want to live in. So I love that you've created a book to help educate the younger generations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I completely agree. I just it's uh it's such an interesting thing where we see as adults that children love animals, right? Like I've never seen a child that wants to harm an animal. But we still, we don't really, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like Santa Claus or something where, we know we're not really telling them the truth. But we just do it anyways, where,
Yeah.
children don't want to harm animals, and we don't tell them that. And maybe we, again, a lot of people are disconnected. So I think a lot of people like myself just thought I'm sure a lot of people still think farm animals, fish don't have feelings, fish don't feel pain, all these other talking points that I think were just propaganda from industry that they got to us young, and now that's just our reality. So yeah, I think it just having something that families or, that people are comfortable with their children reading, because again, it doesn't have to be graphic, even though the graphic stuff is what really snapped me out of it. But that was when I was
Yeah.
25. So as you said, if we can get to them younger and explain just the basic similarities that we have with these animals, and the basic truths about how that all takes place, I think it'll help us get to where I think we all want to get to a little faster.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's see here. Um, the last thing that I kind of wanted to, or my last point here that I kind of wanted to mention and get your thoughts on maybe is, um, you know, I think also another downside of being an angry vegan is that it takes you out of that creative mindset, And I know you're a very creative person, obviously, and you created your book, your journal for people, um, which I think you said is it 500 pages?
Yeah, it's a beast. It's right
Wow.
here, the one I use every single day. It weighs nearly a kilo.
Wow.
I'm writing on this thing right here, but yeah, it's full of artwork and recipes, and it is a beautiful, thick beast of a thing. And the
Wow.
creative point is, yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's just, and I think, and we also talked about this with Dr. Tuttle, but being creative is really what we're here to do, right? It's like we're here to express what we feel that we've come to come to Earth to share with everyone else, and so when we don't create, we become, you know, more isolated, or we become just unhappy. We become, we start to have other issues going on. And so when we tap into that creativity, it's not only beneficial to our own personal health and our own personal, mental health, but it also is a gift, and really, I think, our obligation to others and to the world, um, to share what we feel is important to us, and to create, different things that other people can benefit from, and that's clearly what you're doing. And so, yeah, I guess that was just one of the last things that I had written down to bring up.
As you said that, it made me think you're creating or you're critiquing, right? And I want
Mm,
to be the person creating good and putting beautiful products and recipes and love and compassion out into the world. I don't want to be behind my computer screen critiquing what other people are or aren't doing. And there's only so much energy that each of us have. So, yeah, again, it's the self awareness of where do you want to spend that limited energy that you have.
yeah, 100%. Yep. We only have so much to give, and if you're
Yeah.
putting all that energy into things that don't really matter to you, or if you're just like kind of being apathetic and things, is it just, you're wasting that opportunity to focus that attention and energy into something that you'll feel fulfilled with. So yeah, love it.
Mm.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was an amazing discussion. I know everybody loved it. There's a lot of great comments in here. Um, and yeah, before we get into the Q&A, would you mind just sharing one last, or actually, I don't know. Sometimes I forget to ask people to share where can people find you. It's in the show notes as well, but if you could just share where people can, get your book, or, your podcast, or any of that sort of stuff, where would people go?
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, the best place to connect with me is via strongbodygreenplanet.com. So that will connect you to the Healthification podcast, 870 plus episodes
Wow.
deep, where I get to chat to amazing, passionate, and compassionate activists, athletes, doctors, entrepreneurs, authors. That's my heart. Also, my heart is the plant positive journal that we mentioned. Does post all around the world. I've sent many to the US, even though postage is brutal. So
I
that's
bet.
available via strongbodygreenplanet.com. And the latest version of it is available later this year. It is just in the very final stages. All new recipes, all new art. It's more stunning than the first. Super proud of it, but
Wow.
that's where you connect with me.
Amazing. All right. Well, I highly encourage everybody to go, check out Kate's podcast and the book, get that, and just follow her, and get inspired, and going beyond what we even talked about today. She's got a lot of great content. So thank you for putting out all of that great content for people, and helping to make the world a better place.
Of course, my pleasure.
You. All right, so let's hop over into. Do you have a few more minutes to do some Q
Yeah,
and
I got a
A?
few more minutes for sure.
All right, great. Let's hop over to the Q&A room here, and let's take some of your questions. Thank you, everybody, for again being here and asking your questions. There's a lot of discussion in the chat, so thank you, everybody, for engaging and just sharing your thoughts. So let's see here. Let's get some questions. I know I did see one. Mallory put one in here. So Mallory says, in real life, what word do you use for meat? I don't feel comfortable calling it meat anymore. When people call it protein, like on menus, aka, would you like to add protein to your salad for $6 extra? Um, she feels like that's even worse than calling it meat. She usually says animal parts, even in front of non vegans. She said, but sometimes I feel that sounds angry, but I'm not sure how else to approach it. Do you have any thoughts on
Oh,
that?
good question. Certainly not protein because, yeah, there's so much abundant plant protein. I usually go with the animal that we're talking about. If someone's eating chicken, it's chicken, and if someone's eating lamb, that's lamb. I hold myself back from my natural inclination, which is who are you eating tonight? Who is the individual you're eating? That's my natural angry inclination. Usually I just go for the name of that individual.
I love that. Yeah, I'm actually I I do both. Sometimes I do that as well, but other times I do just say meat. Um, I personally, I mean, I could get stuck on a lot of things like that where I feel like we shouldn't be saying things like we say them, but um, I guess my first thought to that question is like I try and let it's kind of goes back to what you said, picking your battles. I try and let my other attributes and other ways of sharing the message overshadow some of the different words that we use that probably aren't accurate. But yeah, I love that of just using the animal, what the animal is, because yeah, there's so many strange things that we do that aren't really accurate. So, all right, great question, Mallory. Thank you for that. Carl says this is a brilliant topic to delve into. Thank you, Matt and Kate, for this. Thank you, Carl, for being here.
Thank you,
Let's
Carl.
see. Yes. Linda says, "What's up, Linda?" She said, I stopped trying to advocate to Carnus because I don't want to be in a frustrating emotional space. I just do more animal rescue."
Good on you.
Yeah.
You've learned how you can help that is sustainable for you and amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Great point. Yeah. The finding the sustainable ways. That's really how we can make the biggest difference for the longest times. Um, Linda also says there are people who say they are vegan, not even understanding what the word means. And she said real vegans don't become non-vegan; they were always plant-based. Let's see. Tessa says, "Do you have a favorite vegan doctor?"
Oh, I love so many of them. I've interviewed Dr. Gregor several times. He is a powerhouse. Nutritionfacts.org is amazing. Dr. Will Belsovich for gut health, amazing, as is Dr. Alan Desmond.
Hmm.
Dr. Clapper, I love. Dr. Neil Barnard. Look, I love them all, and I understand that some of them lead with just the science and just the health. That's probably more Dr. Gregor's approach. And then others of them lead with the animal rights a little bit more and their heart a little bit more. And that would be my approach. But I love them all for it. And I'm so grateful for them all.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many great ones out there. Maria says, "What advice would you give to a vegan who doesn't have any vegan friends, so there's no one to talk to about veganism? And then frustration is rising as sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who cares."
It's so hard. That is the hardest part of living a vegan lifestyle. The food is easy, it's the relationships and the lack of community. I would say that podcasts are a great help. Find those podcasts. I mean, podcasts are really intimate. You get to spend time, an hour a week, maybe more, with someone who is on the same page, who is interviewing people who are on the same page. So that has been vitally important to me. Online forums can be amazing, they can also be pretty fraught as well. If you are up for it, some forms of activism, if you can handle them that emotionally, you will meet the most beautiful people. Like, I met so many beautiful people while I was doing that activism for a few years. I just don't do it anymore, but I would say any of those suggestions.
Yeah, great advice. That's a great thing about the internet, right? It's
Yeah,
like it
we're all
is
here at the tap of your fingers.
exactly. Yeah, so even if unfortunately you can't find anybody in person, there's so
Yeah.
many of us online here that you can hang out with and hopefully, you know, receive some of that energy that we're putting out there and feel a little bit better, even though it is frustrating that a lot of times it's hard to find anybody in our own physical reality that's on
I
the
mean,
same
and
page.
bit by bit, so I've moved to a new city, right? Much smaller, started at a new gym as the new girl, the new personal trainer. First time in 18 years, I've been the new personal trainer. And uh, the approach to my veganism has not been especially warm and welcoming. Again, I'm that weird one, right? But I slip it in delicately from time to time, when it's semi relevant. I'm vegan, I'm that vegan. And last week I was having a conversation with a beautiful lady, and she's like, I'm basically vegan. And she's not there, she's plant based. However, I wanted to hug the woman. I'm like, oh my goodness, I found one of my tribe. So I think have faith as well that the more conversations you have, and you don't have to lead with it and open with it and all of that, but the more conversations you have, and as time goes on, you're going to be pleasantly surprised that bit by bit, you will find those vegans or almost vegans who are out there in the world. And, that just absolutely made my week. I'm so grateful for it.
That's awesome. And that's a great point. That I think that is one thing that a lot of advocates, in my opinion, kind of could maybe work on is understanding that not everybody is going to get to where they're at in an
Hmm.
instant, right? Like we
Yeah.
have to meet people where they're at. We have to have understanding that this woman that you met, she's more plant based, but
Hmm.
she's moving in the right direction, right? And so, you know, I have many people in a similar situation that I know that they're interested. They've bought some of my books, and but I have other conversations where they're consuming animal products still. They're not fully plant based. They're not vegan, but they're interested and they're moving in that direction. And so I could shut them out, and be like, they're still eating animal products. They've heard my message. They have my books, but they're moving in that direction. So you have to be patient with people and
Yeah.
understand that it doesn't always happen overnight. Even if it happened that way for you, um, that doesn't mean that's going to happen that way for everybody else. So I think just having that understanding, and as long as you get a good energy and a good, like, authentic, genuine interest from them, I think that's amazing. And so I think just having that
Absolutely.
patience is key. All right, let's see. Extropian Transhuman says, should we look for uncultivated ancient foods so we can eat what is more evolutionarily aligned with our bodies for our digestion?
Wow, okay, this could be more your wheelhouse than mine, Matt. Definitely my approach is the more whole food, plant-based, the better for your health. However, equally, I don't look too far back to, I think it's dangerous if we go too far back to how we used to eat, because I'm always going to look at what is available for each of us right now and what are the best choices we can make in our world right now because our ancestors from time to time did eat some meat that was available. And now we have such an abundance of choices, we don't need to even go there. But I think this is probably more your wheelhouse.
No, I agree with you. Well,
Yeah.
I do appreciate the idea of trying to find less hybridized versions of the foods that we eat. I think that is a fine tuning detail. I don't think that's
Mm.
something I would promote somebody focus on when whole food plant based. You get into that, get any of the foods at the grocery store. I personally, I think eating organic is the best way to go, to get away from a lot of maybe GMO or other more chemically laden items. But at the same time, eating a whole food plant-based diet has worked so well for so many people. And I mean, you can look at all the different programs like the Starch Solution or Dr. Esselstyn's program or Dean Ornish's program, you know, Rip Esselstyn's program, all these different programs out there. They don't focus on ancient, uncultivated foods that I'm aware of. And people are still getting great results. And so, while I think, like I said, I think there can be some benefits to doing that and trying to find some of those more ancient things and less man tampered with things. I think that's just something that we would focus on once we have everything else down, and it's something that we want to maybe experiment with and do that sort of thing. But um, yeah, that would kind of be my thought at this
Fine
point.
tuning is perfect, as you put it. Early days, if you're just fresh, lower the bar to raise your chance of success. Don't make it too hard. But yeah, down the track for sure.
Sure. Great question, extropian transhuman. All right. She also says, should we follow functionality for guiding our food choices, like eating fruit for the symbiotic relationship with plants, rather than inner stems, which were here for the plants to live? Another interesting question.
Again, to me, it feels like it's being complicated, and mad respect if this is your approach and it's working for you. I think for the masses, for myself, and health and fitness is my career, this isn't my approach. I don't have that. It's not where I'm choosing to spend my time and energy. So I'm probably not the best person to answer. It sounds too much to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would give like a pretty similar answer to the last question. Is yeah, I mean, like Kate said, if you're doing that and it's working for you, then that's amazing. Because yeah, I mean, I've thought about these things, here and there. Like, obviously, plants give us fruits for to disperse their seeds and things, and so they want us to consume their fruits. They don't necessarily probably want us if they have those types of emotional if they have that emotional capacity to say that they don't want to be eaten, but I don't think anything wants to be killed. But at the same time, I do think that I don't put plants at the same rational reasoning level as animals. So while maybe they don't want to be eaten, I think that we have to eat something, and I think eating lettuce, where we unfortunately do have to end the plant's life, but at the same time we're it's just how it is, unfortunately. And I know people like to use that reasoning for eating animals, but I think there's a whole different discussion around that where we don't need to, so there's no need to.
100% central nervous system, pain
Yes.
receptors, sentience, animals and plants, different story
Yeah.
in my mind. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But and at the same time, I do think it's the more we can respect even the plants and do our best to
Oh,
give
for
them the respect,
sure.
I think that's great. But yeah, I don't take it the same level as I do with animals. So and
Well,
I'm not sure if that answers the question or not.
it's the typical Joe Rogan question, right? The vegans are killing more plants than non-vegans, which obviously is an absolute myth. But if we really want to care about the plants, then we're going to eat just the plants, not filter them through the bodies of animals before we eat about 10% of that animal, right? But that's well off track.
Right, right. Yep, totally. All right, let's see here. Oh, some more questions. Just see. Extropian Transhuman says isolated nuts and seeds tend to be more allergenic of the plant-based sources because they're the plant's babies. Um, we can just take the leaves of lettuce without killing it. That's how I see it. Um, I mean, I think if you're going to take it, which I think that's great. I think it's awesome, but I don't have the opportunity, and that's not really applicable to the masses. Not everybody's going to be able to just pick the leaves off of the lettuce plant because not everybody can grow their own food. Most people are living in apartments or areas where they don't have a garden. Unfortunately, I wish everybody did, but I would say if you have the capacity to do that, that's amazing. But I think eating just a head of lettuce from the store or your farmer's market or anywhere is amazing as well. So
Absolutely. For the health of the animals, the planet, and the humans, I would prefer 8 billion imperfect plant-based eaters than 8 million perfect vegans. I want to get the vast majority of people here. So let's not make it too hard for the majority.
right, exactly.
Hmm.
All right. Um, okay. Well, that is the end of the questions. So yeah, it's almost 12:30 here. So thank you everybody for the amazing questions. I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you, Kate, for this amazing discussion and all your amazing answers. I really appreciate you being here.
Matt, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone listening, everyone who sent in a question. And this has been a huge joy. And Matt, I appreciate you as well. And thank you for all the goodness that you put out into the world.
Thank you so much. Truly appreciate that. Before we head out, I'm going to just quick do the scroll through of the chat and let my mouse choose the winner of the gifts. Let's see here, and it is Maria. Maria, congratulations, Maria Wesolowska. So Maria, feel free to send me an email at matt@myrawintuition.com, and I will get you. You're gonna get a whole host of things here. So
Bundle.
yeah, you'll get a code to get a free bottle of Daily Green Boost. And even if you didn't win today, guys, you can get 10% off if you're interested in Daily Green Boost using my Raw Intuition code on their website. So you can have that. Maria's going to get a copy of Vegan Adventures with Barnyard Friends in the mail. If you're in the U.S., I hope you are in the U.S., Maria. But I also have an e-version, so if you're not, I can send you that too. And then you can choose one of my 3 books, ebooks of my physical books, and then you're going to get Kate's amazing, massive 500-page plus journal that is going to help you, just make the most of this lifestyle and get the best results. So, yeah. All right, Maria, send me an email and I'll get you in. So, yeah, I'll just forward your email on to Kate once you send
Perfect.
me the note. So, okay. Thank you again, everybody. This was truly a great show. So I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. And we will catch you next time. Actually, so July is actually going to be, I'm not that available in July, so I don't think I'm going to have shows for the next 2 weeks, as far as I can tell at this point. So we'll probably pick back up with the show at the end of the month. The last Sunday, we should have a show. But the next 2 weeks, I think, will be you'll just have to watch a replay. Watch this one again if you want. So, all right. So again, I appreciate you all, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, always follow your raw intuition.